Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take some time today to present you with another word of encouragement. Well, just in case you haven't heard, it was just last July, that's when the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or otherwise known as ATLAS, this system discovered an interstellar comet which has since been called 3I Atlas. Now, just to be clear, the 3I designation is due to the fact that this is the third interstellar object known to have entered our solar system from another planetary system. This interstellar object, which was first discovered back in July, it's believed to be the size of Manhattan. And while many scientists have assured us that the trajectory of this comet poses no threat to the Earth, there are those who insist that this so-called comet is actually an alien spacecraft which is here on some sort of assignment. For example, let's consider the perspective presented by a Harvard astronomer and cosmologist. His name is Avi Loeb. And according to Loeb, the interstellar object's unusual trajectory has placed 3I Atlas on a path that takes it close to Mars and then Venus and Jupiter, which, seems to be more than an extremely rare coincidence. He also presented the potential for the object to use the sun's gravitational pull to accelerate or slow it down according to the Oberth effect, which is a principle in physics that allows a spacecraft to generate more energy when its engine is fired at higher speeds. And here's how he explained it, and I quote him here: "If 3I Atlas is a massive mothership, it will likely continue along its original gravitational path and ultimately exit the solar system." Now, from this, he goes on to speculate about the potential for the spacecraft to use the Oberth maneuver to launch then many probes at the perihelion towards the solar system planets. It should also be noted that Loeb goes on to confess that the likelihood of 3I Atlas being technological in origin is extremely slim, and here's how he explained it, and I quote him again: "As of now, 3I Atlas appears most likely to be a natural comet, but the remote possibility of an Oberth maneuver must be considered seriously as a black swan event with a small probability because of the huge implications for humanity." So yeah, according to Loeb, the available evidence currently, prior to 3I Atlas's perihelion, would lead us to believe that this is nothing more than an interstellar comet, and at the same time, he encouraged us to leave some room for the possibility that this is some sort of interstellar object that could demonstrate signs of intelligence if it employs the Oberth effect as it approaches the sun. Now, with that being the case, you might be interested to know that it was last Wednesday, on October the 29th, that's when 3I Atlas surprised many scientists by brightening at an unexpectedly rapid pace as it made its closest approach to the sun. And according to one report, experts studying this object don't know why this happened. Here's how Robert Leah explained it in his article titled "Interstellar Invader Comet. 3I Atlas is still full of surprises, and unexpected brightening has scientists baffled." Well, it's in this article where Robert writes this, and I quote him here: "Scientists had expected 3I Atlas to brighten as it made its closest approach to the sun, or reached perihelion on Wednesday, October 29. After all, this is a phenomenon common to comets originating from the shell of icy bodies at the edge of the solar system called the Oort cloud. It happens because radiation from the sun causes solid ice to transform straight into gas, a process called sublimation. This gas then erupts from the shell of the comet, casting off solid dust and growing the halo around a comet, the comma, and its characteristic cometary tail. Thus, the dust reflects light, thus boosting the brightness of the comet. 3I Atlas, however, brightened way faster than anticipated." That's right, 3I Atlas brightened at an unexpectedly rapid pace as it made its closest approach to the sun. And while this was a surprise to those who are studying this interstellar object, there are natural explanations for the rapid brightening of 3I Atlas, which was observed by the twin spacecraft that make up the Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory. Here's how Robert Leah explained it in the same article, and I quote him again: "The team proposes a few different mechanisms that could account for the unexpectedly rapid brightening of this comet from beyond the solar system. It could be the result of the speed at which 3I Atlas is approaching the sun. Alternatively, it could tell scientists something about the comet itself. that is exciting because if the internal composition of 3I Atlas is different from that of the nuclei of the Oort cloud comets, it could mean that the planetary system from which it originates also has a different chemical makeup. Now, from this we can see that there could be several mechanisms that could account for the unexpectedly rapid brightening of 3I Atlas, and yet at the same time, there are those who are quick to insist that the only explanation is that 3I Atlas is an extraterrestrial mothership sent by intelligent civilization. It was actually 4 days ago when Avi Loeb presented 8 anomalies that lead him to believe that 3I Atlas might be alien technology. And while he avoids taking a hardline stance on the question, what is it? He does confirm this, and I quote him again here, "We have to collect as much data as possible to figure out the nature of this anomalous object. The implication of alien technology would be huge, and therefore we must take this possibility seriously. Our biggest rocket, Starship, is 100 times smaller than 3I Atlas, so in case 3I Atlas were technological, its senders would have mastered capabilities that go well beyond our technologies." In other words, we don't have really solid evidence right now that 3I Atlas is alien technology, and yet it's too soon to rule it out. And so let's wait to see what happens after this interstellar object then appears from behind the sun as it continues on its current course. Until then, I encourage you to remember that there are many reports of, aliens and UFOs and UPAs and all these sorts of things. For example, looking back to June 2023, that's when police body cam footage from Las Vegas allegedly captured the images of a mysterious event as a UFO crashed to the earth. And shortly thereafter, nearby residents reported encounters with unusually tall non-human beings. The American Meteor Society, they confirmed several reports in California, Nevada, and Utah of a bright flash in the sky, and there were also reports of black SUVs in the area that possibly took spacecraft away. Then in July of 2023, there was the House Oversight Subcommittee meeting regarding our national security in regards to unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs for short. And it was during that meeting, that's when the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security, they invited witnesses and lawmakers to expose the Pentagon's efforts to cover up information about its UAP program. That's when a former intelligence official named David Grush, he presented several incredible claims about the government's role in covering up the evidence regarding UAPs. As a matter of fact, Grush was quick to confess that he knows of multiple colleagues who were physically injured by UAP activity as well as by the U.S. federal government. Not only that, but he also assured the subcommittee that the government has recovered an alien spacecraft as well as the non-human biologics which were recovered from the craft. And here's how he put it after being asked, if the bodies of the pilots were recovered from the craft. And I quote him here, "As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries." Grush was then asked if the bodies were human or non-human biologics, to which he responded, non-human, and that was the assessment of people who, with direct knowledge of the program I talked to. Well, you might also like to know that it was just last month on September the 9th, 2025. That's when a panel of witnesses testified as they shed new light on some previously reported UAP incidents observed near military assets and installations. And this included the testimony of one former military police officer who served 16 years in the Air Force. And it was during his time on duty when he witnessed massive objects that he described as flying buildings that approached military personnel and pulsed and moved in strange ways. And listen, this is just a scratch on the surface of all this information, and with all this in mind, I encourage you to realize that there is coming a day when the world is going to be invaded by aliens, or what I might like to call demonic forces, who will masquerade as aliens from other worlds. Here's how John describes this in Revelation chapter 9. There he declares, "The fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then, out of the smoke, locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. Now here in these verses we find John the Revelator. He's describing the day when the 5th angel will sound his trumpet. And it's at that point in time when this massive comet will fall from heaven to the earth, and there's going to be this pit that opens up and the smoke from the pit, and all of a sudden there's going to be these powerful locust-like creatures that are given power over the people here on the earth. And John goes on to compare those locusts in the same chapter to horses prepared for a battle. On their heads are crowns made of something like gold. Their faces will appear to be the faces of men. Their hair is going to be like women's hair, and their teeth will be like the lion's teeth, and their breastplates will be like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings is like the sound of chariots. And so, as we consider these strange creatures, it kind of sounds like a scene from an Avengers movie, but this is actually a prophetic vision which is going to be fulfilled during the time of tribulation. Thankfully, those who trust in Jesus Christ, we will have already been removed during the rapture of the church, and this will happen before the time of tribulation begins. And as we consider how those who are still here during the time of tribulation will seek death but will not find it, I encourage every unbeliever that today is the day of repentance. Today is the day to trust in Jesus Christ so that you may be counted worthy to escape all of these things that will eventually come to pass after the rapture of the church. For those who have already placed their faith in Jesus Christ, I encourage you to realize that the time that we have to reach the unbelievers that we know and love, the time that we have to reach them is extremely limited. And it's for this reason that I provoke you unto love and good works, by reminding you that we need to preach the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And as we preach the good news of God's grace, which is received by faith in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit will help us to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.